outside the purview of the litigation that we are now bringing. And I'm happy to go into that into more detail if the panel would prefer.
Thank you. Representative Kaufman.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for being here, and Attorney Ellis. We appreciate your service to the nation because these are definitely difficult times, and all of those who have testified, it truly does take bravery to step out in situations like this and talk about your personal experience. I wanted to direct this to Mayor Giuliani and Attorney Ellis. In the cured ballot issue, or uncured ballot issue, the ability to cure in one area of the state and not in others, that is certainly, to many of us, seems to be an equal protection violation under the 14th Amendment. Can you quantify what you found as far as maybe number or information as far as the number of ballots we're talking and how widespread it is across the Commonwealth as far as, were there 2 counties that allowed for curing and they were Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, or were there more counties out there that allowed for curing? That kind of information would be very helpful to us, I think.
There's no question, Representative, that it went on. And it went on in the 2 counties you mentioned and probably 3 or 4 more. Curing, in other words. It did not go on in the majority of counties, Republican or Democrat. Most of them were in a portrait. The elections commissioner sent out a notice, advice that you could cure the ballot. If you check with your lawyer would say, no, you can't do that. The legislature has to provide for a cured ballot. So your counties that were sticking to the strict letter of the law didn't provide for curing. The counties that were acting, I would say, illegally, because the election commissioner doesn't have the authority to make that change, followed it. It does turn out that those are largely the Biden counties did the curing and the Trump counties didn't do the curing. It's hard to know how many it affected. I could get you the number of actually cured ballots, but I don't think I can get you the number that weren't cured. Okay. Who are the ones that were effective? When we argued this in front of the court, the judge said, well, maybe those people in the counties that didn't allow curing should sue that county. But that county didn't do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. That county followed the law. The reason they were deprived of their right to vote on an equal basis is because other counties followed what would be the illegal advice of the election commissioner, that you could cure a ballot, for which there is no authority in state law. So we will try to do better to get a good number there. But it's hard to do because a lot of it affected people who just didn't vote.
Sure.
But I do think the practice, in some cases the numbers are sufficient to overturn the election. In some cases the numbers aren't. But what they do is show how onerous and how draconian the measures were they took to flip this election. I mean, some of them result in numbers that affect the outcome of the election, like not examining the ballots. Some of them don't. But there's still indications that this was a deliberate fraud. This wasn't just a couple of election officials kind of screwed up. This was a deliberate, planned fraud. And that's why the remedy, which seems kind of tough, is justified. If this were just a couple of mistakes, that would be a tough remedy. But this is a plan that was carried out throughout your entire state. And I submit it was carried out in concert with other Democrat organizations. And if you look carefully, they picked only Democrat cities where they control law enforcement and the courts, and they can get ridiculous decisions, like the decision they got from a judge in Philadelphia who said, oh, you're present. Why do you have to see anything? Well, because I'm an inspector. That's why. And that's a purely political hack decision. And they knew they could get decisions like that in Philadelphia, in Detroit, if it were a different kind of election, Chicago, New York. Those are the kinds of cities they picked. They didn't pick, even in your state, kind of neutral cities, Democrat or Republican.
Thank you. Representative Schemmel.